We'd like to begin our presentation by acknowledging that we stand on the land, the sovereign nations of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We also acknowledge and pay our respects to their ancestors, elders, past, present and future. Thank you, Josh, for that introduction. Felecia, Sanchia, I'd also like to, you've met some of my other colleagues here, Lynda, Matt and Margaret Harvey. I'll just get you to stand, just say hi to everyone. Thank you very much. We are here on behalf of the Torres Strait Islander Researchers Network. Today we are presenting our experience, and we acknowledge and thank the Lowitja Institute for supporting our project both financially and also the marvellous contribution and support that we've had from staff from the Lowitja Institute as well. We hope that by the end of our presentation that you might be motivated, encouraged, inspired to join us on our journey of creating a knowledge mobilisation community. But before our presentation, we'd like to show you a quick clip which was produced and directed by Marg Harvey and her company Josie Sparks, and it gives you a bit of background about our project.
We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet. We pay respect to their ancestors and elders, past and present. We acknowledge our Torres Strait ancestors, our elders, families and communities. The Torres Strait Islands are situated between the northernmost tip of Australia and Papua New Guinea. It is the most intact northern extension of the World Heritage listed Great Barrier Reef ecosystem. The Torres Straits is internationally known for its diverse flora, fauna, and endemism that contribute to Australia as a globally distinct ecosystem, and is a key breeding ground for endangered species such as the green turtle and dugong. Our histories, epistemologies, beliefs, experiences and needs are unique and separate to the Aboriginal people of Australia. The Torres Strait Island people are strong and resilient. We have met many obstacles head-on, but how we rise to the oncoming challenges the environment and social issues bring will determine our survival. In 2017, a group of Torres Strait Islander researchers and community members established a knowledge mobilisation community of practice known as Meriba buay ngalpan wakaythoemamay. Now a network, this group is unique as it brings together for the first time Torres Strait Islander researchers with a broad range of expertise. We share a passion for the empowerment of Torres Strait Islander people to shape our own futures. One way to support empowerment is to make research knowledge more accessible to Torres Strait Islanders through knowledge mobilisation. Our key message is know the risk, own the risk, and flip the risk. As knowledge mobilisers, our journey has included an Ultra Connector presentation at the 2018 Canadian Knowledge Mobilisation Forum. The theme was Mobilising Evidence for Human Rights and the Sustainable Development Goal.
Flip the risk refers to research knowledge complementing experiential knowledge to help our people make well-informed decisions about adapting to the impacts of climate change, thereby enhancing the well-being and resilience of our communities. Just as we have accepted and adapted to past environmental changes.
We also brokered networks and links with knowledge mobilisers in Canada, including First Nations, Métis and Inuit people, to lay the foundations for future collaborations. Our network recognised that one of the most effective ways to mobilise knowledge in our community is through stories, music, dance and visual art. As the Torres Strait is already experiencing the impacts of climate change, we focused on the issue of rising sea levels. Using theatre and film expertise within our group, the complexity of knowledge translation of climate change issues were explored through a 15-minute arts-based performance in a way that captured people's hearts and minds. It was presented at the opening night of the 2018 Cairns Indigenous Art Fair. It's 2050, and a tidal surge has sunk the last of our Torres Strait Island homes beneath the depths of the rising sea. Culture clings to a life buoy. Is there anybody out there?
"60 years from now, you all island people listen. Them island you go underneath water. You fly will be like seagulls roaming the skies forever with nowhere to land."
In addition to the performance, we are working on other mechanisms to mobilise knowledge into practice, including games-based problem solving. Torres Strait Islander Researchers Network are drawing on the Know the Risk, Own the Risk and Flip the Risk framework to address complex environmental and social issues.
So before we continue, we'd like to set the scene about how we view knowledge translation. And I think, Sis Vicky, you were talking about the experiential knowledge. And we acknowledge that knowledge translation occurs in both a research context and an experiential context. And drawing these two worlds together is complex. Like others in Canada, we view KT as an umbrella term. Under this umbrella sits activities such as knowledge mobilisation, knowledge exchange, knowledge transfer, and so on. Based on the widely used Canadian Institute of Health Research definition of knowledge translation, KT has two very important parts. One part is the effective management of knowledge, shaded in yellow. This is the collection, storage, analysis, interpretation, and use. And use in this case includes dissemination, exchange, and ethically sound application of knowledge. The other part, and this appears to get lost in knowing and doing of KT, is impact, which is stated in pink. Did you achieve what you set out to achieve? And importantly, how do you know? So it's interesting that we're having this discussion of KT in a academic or research context. But our people, Torres Strait Islander and Aboriginal people, we're the original knowledge translators. We've been translating knowledge since millennia. This image by the late Billy Missy reflects KT. It depicts a spotter positioned on the mast, directing the canoe, and the hunter poised with the harpoon. Based on experiential knowledge systems, hunters to this day know that there are different ways to hunt green turtles, which is dictated by the tide, the moon, and whether it is night or during the day. They also know the traditional way of hunting green turtles during the mating season, which occurs in September and October, when the water is becoming warm. They also know that single male turtles are always found where others are mating. The impact of an experiential KT approach was the survival of generation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, including our customs, our beliefs, our values, languages, songs, and so on. Most recently, Torres Strait Islander people, along with our brothers and sisters in other island countries around the Blue Continent, are feeling the effects of globalisation and environmental change, as shown by these images, which includes rising sea levels, loss of homes and lands, depletion of fish stocks, pollution of seabeds, and microplastics in our marine life. Our ancestors knew there were solutions to these emerging problems. We, the next generation of Torres Strait Islanders, recognise and understand there are solutions that can be drawn from the experiential knowledge system and the Western research knowledge system. However, drawing together these knowledge systems to do KT must involve the people who are seeking the solutions, that is, the knowledge users, and the people who want to use the solutions, also the knowledge users, to be empowered to do so. So for KT to work, it's helpful to know what to own, when to own it, and why this is important. Let's start with knowing what to own. If we are serious about knowledge translation, speaking to everyone in the room here, we need to understand KT, not just the definition, but also the system, the processes and resources that go hand in hand with KT. For KT to work in our project, we had to know it to own it. This involved adopting a knowledge mobilisation approach, identifying our topic, issue and objective, and developing a KT plan. So firstly, our knowledge mobilisation approach. Based on our individual experiences and discussions with our Torres Strait Islander family and friends and community, we knew the gap in trying to address our social and environmental concerns was that knowledge users struggled to find the right knowledge at the right time for the concern at hand. Our network was made up of Torres Strait Islander researchers and community members, so we adopted an exchange and integration approach to knowledge translation that was underpinned by the following mechanisms. We had regular meetings, which included face-to-face meetings, teleconferences and video conferences. We had collaboration to undertake 2 knowledge translation events, which Sanchia is going to speak about as well. And we had other activities such as collaborating with people outside of the network, for example, our international collaboration with knowledge mobilisers in Canada, a public seminar in Canberra, and meeting with colleagues from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and also participation at seminars and workshops. We next had to identify our KT topic, issue and objective. Our topic was social determinants of health and wellbeing for people living in Torres Strait Islander communities. Identifying the issue involved scanning what was out there. A review of the literature found very limited evidence of a comprehensive approach or a policy and strategic statement that described approaches to Torres Strait Islander sustainability. In the absence of strategic guiding documents, we developed a planning framework based on the Lynda Prosperity Index and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we workshopped this with our network and our community members. The selection of issues was also dependent on the following criteria. Firstly, it had to be deemed an important social determinant of health and wellbeing for Torres Strait Islander people. Secondly, at least one group member has to have knowledge or research expertise in the topic and issue, and if not, we had to co-opt an expert outside of our group. It had to be doable within the time frame and the budget, and it also had to be realistic. And as shown on the slide, the priority issues were social capital, natural environment, safety and security, governance, education and health. Based on discussions held to identify the topic, we developed the following objective, which was to enhance social capital through the mobilisation of knowledge about adaptability and resilience initiatives and strategies to address natural environment concerns relating to Torres Strait Islander people. And that's a good research kind of objective, isn't it? Yes. I read that out. Sounded very professional. Planning for KT involved drawing on several models and frameworks, such as the KT planning template, the York University's knowledge mobilisation model, 2 stickiness frameworks by Chip and Dan Heath and Jonah Berger, and our own no-own flip process model to develop a KT plan. So we decided to plan for 2 KT events in 9 months. Don't suggest you do that. It's one of our learnings. Anyway, it's a good example of why when you get a group of thinkers in the room, step away from the whiteboard, people. So the outcome from our KT planning process was as follows. Our KT goal was to generate interest and awareness within the target audience to own responsibility, to identify and implement adaptability and resilience initiatives and strategies for climate change. The selected KT strategies were multifaceted, and the other important point was this step, that network members took responsibility for parts of the plan. So in our network we had people ranging from a whole range of backgrounds and experiences, but as we showed from the video, that we had one of our PhD students take the lead in a really important event. So that's an important part of our capacity building strategy. Sanchia.
Thanks, sis. I'll this mic. I've got a big voice, I don't want to yell. I'm going to break the windows here. Hi, everyone. Thanks, sis. So now that we knew what to own, we had to walk the talk and know when to own it. So when to own KT is about moving on from the talk about KT and doing the walk of KT. For example, our presentation today was deemed a KT opportunity. As such, we planned this event using elements of the KT planning template. So as you can see, in addition to our presentation, we also drew on other strategies to achieve our goal. So we were all wearing our high-vis vests, and there's some symbolism attached to that, which I'll talk about soon. You would have received a pamphlet or a little postcard about our project and asking you to join us, develop our knowledge mobilisation community. You can see our Instagram frame, and we invite you at the end of this discussion to come over and help us monitor and evaluate our presentation by sticking a paddle pop stick in one of the bottles that best reflects whether our message came across. So when do you own KT for it to work? During our presentation today, it was right up from the commencement of the forum when you walked in, through to our presentation and at the end of the forum. So the next slides will provide examples of when we own KT for the events we did throughout our project. I see. Our first KT event, as we showed on the video, was a short theatre-based performance titled Wellbeing, The Water is Rising. The performance was directed by network member we mentioned before, Mark Harvey, and her company, the Josie Sparks. The content for the performance was sourced from research knowledge and experiential knowledge from our hour there on the photo, our Jeffrey Anabawaya. When did we own it? So we mentioned we did the performance at the opening night of the Cairns Indigenous Art Fair in 2018. We knew KIAF opening night would draw a lot of people, and we were guaranteed a prominent place as one of several opening performances. So although KIAF and the performance provided us with an opportunity to get our message across, we needed to draw on other strategies to promote the message, the performance, and our network. This is all this mob in action. So more importantly, we also needed a way to know whether we had achieved impact, and we'll discuss this later. So the additional KT strategies we implemented were targeted email invitations, community radio announcements, the wearables. So the symbolism of the high-vis vest is that climate change, rising sea levels. So it's like you can see in the middle, the jacket, the life safety jacket. So it was too expensive to buy life safety jackets, so we had to go with these. Yes, it didn't go that far. And Qantas wouldn't give us their leftover jackets, so we just had to go with this. So we also had a verbal pitch and pamphlets, and we drew a print. So today, that's part of today's at lunch. If you participate in our monitoring and evaluation, we'll give you a raffle ticket, and then at lunchtime we'll draw for this print from our sister here. From our brother there in Cairns, Tommy Powell. Yeah. So our second event was a game-based problem-solving taster night with Boho Interactive on Thursday Island in the Torres Strait. Now, Boho is a collective of Australian artists and game designers. This group works with scientists to create interactive performances and games exploring concepts from systems science, complexity theory, resilience thinking, games theory, and network theory. Boho organised several games that focused on systems thinking for solving complex problems. So our KT vehicle was the taster night, and the sample games were our KT products. The additional KT strategies we implemented were targeted email and hand-delivering invitations, community radio announcements, short presentation, our Instagram frame, and please, you can come and take a photo in our Instagram frame, you feel free. And yeah, active demonstration game, and our champions. So far we've described what to own, when to own it, but why bother? So what? So a key element of KT is impact. To work out if your goal was achieved, you need to integrate elements of monitoring and evaluation into your KT events and activities. So as we mentioned today, we, not just wearing these things, we will monitor and evaluate it with the bottles over there. So how did we do this for our events? So the impact of our theatre-based performance was measured using SMX tests. The following question was sent to 80 people who attended CIAF and provided informed consent to participate in the evaluation. And this was the question. The message we wanted to get across through our event at CIAF is that future sea level rise will impact on the lives of Torres Strait Islander people. And both experiential and research knowledge need to be used by communities to help them respond. How well did this message come through for you? So they just had to respond with an A, not very well, B, quite well, C, very well, D, unsure, E, did not attend the event. And what E means is that, I don't know if any of you have gone to CIAF, but yeah, so that you can be inside looking at all the artwork, whereas the performance is quite away from the artwork. You might well know. So as shown in this slide, 46 people responded to the SMS message, and most people selected very well. The following responses were also obtained from 33 guests who we sent a targeted invitation to attend the event. And the first one was, I saw the show last night. It was absolutely brilliant, mind-blowing. It was futuristic, but the message was so clear that I surprised myself, I got a bit emotional. The second one, when the show went through, I beget the message, and it was clear with all that action of how we need to be aware of our environment. And then the last one, it was innovative. I've been telling people it's a visual lecture. We also tracked social media metrics. This included Twitter, newspaper reports, and Facebook. That's why Felecia reckoned don't do this kind of thing for 9 months. It's crazy. We measured the impact of the taster night by assessing responses to invitations and participant feedback. The network invited participants by email and hand-delivered invites to organisations. A rough count on the night suggests 28 people from these organisations attended the event. The network also encouraged participants to answer the following question as they left the event. How useful do you think an interactive games approach might be in assisting our communities to build resilience in the face of social and environmental threats? Participants responded by dropping the paddle pop stick into 4 bottles that were labelled unsure, not very well, not very useful, fairly useful, and very useful. Most guests, 81%, found the event to be very useful. So let's recap. How do we do KT that works? Firstly, we needed to know it, to know what to own. Secondly, we had to walk the talk and do KT throughout our project. We highlight that this may not be suitable for all projects and contexts. And finally, we monitored and evaluated what we did to see if we had achieved our goals. So in short, what's on the slide there, knowing what to own, when to own it, and understanding and why this was important. So what were some big outputs and impacts of our project so far? Well, one is thanks to Lowitja Institute and Christina over there. Our short doco was retweeted to a presentation that Fran Baum did, and also to the World Health Organization. So thanks, Christina. We also went on to receive an Australian Research Council grant to look at the application of our no own flip process model, particularly from the perspective of knowledge users. So on behalf of my sisters here, Bala, and the Torres Strait people that were involved in this project, we thank you for this opportunity to share our learnings with you. We also wish to acknowledge and thank the Lowitja Institute and our Torres Strait Islander family and friends, and we say kai moeso. Thank you.